Joining us now is House Financial Services Committee Chairman Barney Frank. Congressman Frank, thank you very much for your time tonight.
I'm glad to be here.
What can you tell us about this breaking news? We're just hearing that there is a deal, at least among Democratic leaders, to bail out the big three.
Well, we've had several hearings. We've talked to a lot of our colleagues. And Speaker Pelosi and Majority Leader Reid, we had a conversation today, those two, and Senator Dodd, the chairman of the Banking Committee of the Senate, myself. We've all felt for some time that it was important in any case to keep these companies from going under, but it's especially important in the context of this jobs report. We are in the worst economic situation by far since the Great Depression. And if we were to sustain now the kind of losses in jobs and suppliers not getting paid and all the and car dealers having to lay people off that would come from bankruptcy from these companies, you would start getting close to the Great Depression, although we wouldn't get to that depth. There had been a debate about where to put the money. Now, Speaker Pelosi, I want to give a lot of credit to her for some compromising. We passed a bill in the last session of Congress to advance $25 billion to the auto industry, the American manufacturers, essentially, to upgrade their technology to get the kind of efficiency that's both good environmentally and good marketing. We then said, okay, now let's lend them $25 billion, and the Democratic position was that it should have come from this $700 billion rescue plan, the TARP, as it's called. And you just heard the president say, well, I don't want to put taxpayer money into an institution that might fail. If it wasn't for the fact that you've supplied the context, I would have assumed he was talking about AIG or any of the other financial institutions into which he's put money. AIG has already gotten the big insurance company that got itself into trouble more than 4 times as much as we are contemplating for the auto industry. The president was insisting that we divert the $25 billion that we put in there to make them more efficient and more energy competent and use that money instead. We ran into this deadlock. He is still the man who can veto things. You still have, in this current Senate, 49 Republicans, so you'll have a filibuster. If this were next year and Barack Obama was in office and we had the 58 or maybe 59 Democratic senators, then we would be able to break a filibuster. So we have to compromise. And I give Speaker Pelosi credit. She has said, okay, we will compromise. We will use the money from the $25 billion that was put in there to make them energy efficient. However, we will reserve the right next year when we have a better president and a better Congress to replace that $25 billion from the TARP. They won't be able to stop us then. We're not asking them to sign off on it. We're simply giving notice that that's something we always have the option of doing later so that we are able to keep them alive. We are talking about a loan. We are talking about the federal government, not talking about. We are writing a bill whereby the federal government will be the first to be repaid when there is some money. We are also talking about working with them for restructuring. Now, we should note that the UAW has been very, very responsible in this situation. They've already signed a contract that cuts back on some of the compensation going forward. They've now agreed to reduce some of their hard-won gains over the year. The other point that we want to make is this, Rachel, and I know you would agree with this. This underlines the stupidity of America's health policy because General Motors and Ford and Chrysler pay more than their competitors, Mitch McConnell's Toyota and the others, because historically they have had to pay for the health care of the workers, unlike more rational societies where the health care is not put on the backs of the employees. And in fact, we asked them, they will owe the 3 companies over the next couple of years far more money than they are asking for to be tided over right now just for health care. And so what I am hoping is that we will put this into place, lend them the money, and during the next 2 years, under the leadership of President Obama, we'll get a more rational health care plan in this country so you won't have health care on the backs of the workers that way.
The car companies had requested $34 billion. They'd started off asking a couple weeks ago for 25. It was up to 34 by this week. Have you talked about a dollar amount that you are willing to expend at this point?
We're probably at the 25. The constraint here is that the president wouldn't sign a bill that did anything more than the money we voted. He voted for the energy efficiency. That's about $25 billion. There are some things that have to be done to make that fully available. But what you're talking about here when you talk about 25 versus 34 is how much time. 34 gets you further along. what we believe is that $25 billion will get us well into the next year, so that, again, we will have President Obama will have a 58 or 59 Democratic member Senate and a larger Democratic House, and we'll be able to deal with this. And, you know, again, I mentioned before the idea, I want to say one of the troubling things here is that there is strong evidence in the reaction of some of my colleagues and others in the society of a white-collar, blue-collar double standard. People said, well, you know, those auto workers get too much money. Did you hear anybody say that the average Citicorp worker gets too much money or the average AIG worker gets too much money? Because I guarantee you that they get more than an auto worker. And this notion that we will take enormous risks and put in hundreds of billions of dollars for financial institutions, but we will have people cavil at trying to help this real physical part of the economy in similar circumstances with similar terms is very troubling.
Do you expect that we're going to be looking at other industries coming to Washington with the same sorts of requests? It's the auto industry now. Could it be other manufacturing industries? Could it be other parts of even the service sector?
It's unlikely. And people said, you know, where's it going to stop? And the answer is it stops when we think that it makes sense to stop. And this prediction that it's going to lead to a lot of others simply hasn't been true. We have not been flooded with a lot of others. There were some other financial industries, like the insurance industry, some parts of it that are looking for money under the tarp. But the point is that the automobile industry is an extraordinarily far-reaching industry. You've got the auto dealers, you've got the suppliers, you've got a whole range of things. And we're talking here not about moral worth. We're talking about impact on the economy. And people have said, well, you're bailing them out. No, we're not bailing out the shareholders of these companies. If you were a shareholder of any of those companies some years ago, particularly the two that are still public corporations, Ford and GM, you haven't done very well. What we are trying to do is to prevent the cascade of further problems that come if they default. And the car dealers have to lay off people. And the car dealers stop advertising in the local media. And the suppliers and the small businesses that supply them all crash. But we do not see, I don't see other industries that would have the same kind of reach and where the collapse would do the same kind of damage.
Congressman Barney Frank, congratulations on your hard work at arriving at something that you can explain to us in short sentences. It's impressive work that you've come this far in this short a time. Thanks for your time tonight.
You're welcome. Thank you.